and the seemingly impossible. So bearing that in mind, the idea of telling a story goes along with the matriarchs or the mothers of our nation being the first teachers. So of course, that then leads to us asking whose voice is being heard more often than not. So I'll endeavor to address or speak to and touch on all those themes as it links to the overarching theme of ADWA, Salt River, Congo, and the suppression of our voice, our agency in our sovereign space, for lack of a better word. So, thanks for this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
No. It's fine. Switch. Make sure there's no sound coming out of it. It's fine. Use that one.
So, busy. I see that your camera is on. Can we ask our speakers to actually keep all of these the videos on? That would be happy. Greetings.
Maria Queen Broadwood, and all members of our beautiful black family in its various manifestations, right? I stand on a lot of what you have said in your introduction and what our sister also just said now, and I really appreciate the fact that our energies already speak to each other, which I suspect is going to make our conversation much more purposeful going forward. So my contribution here is that, so I am a black consciousness proponent and activist, so that's my worldview, I draw from the black consciousness experience, a bit of Pan-Africanist, Afrocentricity as well, just the general black radical worldviews I draw from those experiences, and of course I still continue to evolve, and so I don't consider myself trapped where I am currently, so I continue to evolve. But you always obviously need a lens, right? Yeah, you need a lens, and that is my lens for now. So the first thing is, I think I need to send a huge salute to you for linking Congo with the Berlin conference, because a lot of people do not know that Congo is actually the main reason why that conference was called, right? And originally, it was not even referred to as the Berlin Conference. The concept of the Berlin Conference evolves later. It was referred to as the Conference on West Africa or the Conference on Congo. That's the original name of that conference, right? And so your connection of the two is just splendid. Secondly, just like ADWA as well, just like I'm also moved by the inclusion of the Salt River, resistance that you are including, because it is an important narrative as well of our liberation struggles, because you are taking us back to people like the Strand Lopers, you are taking us back to people like Gogosa and Doman, you are taking us back to people like David Stearman, right, who are some of our original freedom fighters, because there are a lot of people who think freedom fighters started with the advent of political parties as we know them. So that for me is also a fundamental disruption, right? The Salt River narrative is an important disruption to help us recenter and refocus and to see how all of that is connected, right? It is also instructive that this is being organized from the so-called Western Cape, right? The so-called Western Cape, because to understand coloniality, not just in South Africa, but across the African continent, it is important that we pay close attention to the history of that part of the world that is called the Western Cape. And often, we don't study the history of that part of the world enough, and we find ourselves trapped in the racist, patriarchal, white supremacist narratives of that part of the world. So it is also instructive that we are being gathered by our brothers and sisters who are native to that part of the world, right? And I will be elaborating on those themes in the conversation, but in particular to show that where Africa finds itself today is primarily because of that gathering of criminals, which we know as the Berlin Conference.
Yes.
Come up.
Powerful. Thank you very, very much. Sister Shonay,